Okay, this video is on the difference between the New Testament or the New Covenant and dispensationalist teachings. The dispensationalists teach that Abraham was called out by God, and Isaac and then Jacob had 12 sons, which was the nation of Israel, and this is correct. But that these promises for the nation of Israel were unconditional, and they go throughout time, and they're to never. And anyone who goes against this covenant is an enemy of God, or anyone that says that Israel is not in covenant relationship with God is an enemy of God. And that when Jesus Christ came, that he was coming to establish a world, a kingdom for Israel on the earth, and that since they rejected him, that Jesus Christ went with plan B for the time being and stopped the prophecy of the 70th week and moved the 70th week into the future, because he was not accepted. And so that Jesus Christ started the church, and the church is for Gentiles. And so they are preaching that there are two trees of God, and that both of these trees are on God's side, or the elect of God. Or actually they're saying the Israel is the elect, and the church is God's plan B, and the promises to the Israel are to never intersect with the promises to the church, and that the church will receive their promises in heaven, and Israel's destiny is to rule over the world. Now the correct doctrine is that God called out Abraham to set a people apart and to bring forth the Messiah, and the nation of Israel was established, and this became the good tree, the tree of faith, and God showed them the law of Moses. And the point of this tree was to bring forth the Messiah, Jesus Christ, that all who will believe on him shall be saved and be grafted into the tree. So the natural branches of the tree was the Israelites, and the unnatural branches are the Gentiles. So I would be a Gentile, and by faith I was born again, and I was brought into the church, or into the tree. And the first members of the tree were the apostles, who were Jews. And then the first people to get saved that were Gentiles were like the Ethiopian eunuch, Lydia, in the book of Acts, and other Gentiles. And the Israelites that did not believe, or did not believe in Jesus Christ, were cast off. And that applies to this day. And the Gentiles who do not believe, they're cast off. So there's only one tree, and it's the tree of faith, or it's the tree of faith in Jesus Christ. And this is God's new covenant. Now what the dispensationalists teach is that there are two trees, and this is why they're lying. And what they're so the Israelites that got cast off, they didn't want to say that they were out of covenant with God or whatever, but they became the root of another tree, the tree in opposition to God's the church. And this tree is where the Antichrist is going to come from. And so what the dispensationalists are teaching is that this tree here is actually blessed by God in a sense. So there, and people join this tree who are Gentiles as well, or the abominable branch, as people who are Gentiles can join this tree. And unbelieving Israelites are in a sense almost already in the tree, or unbelieving Gentiles are already in the tree. This is like the state that you're already in before you're saved in unbelief. And so here we see the seed of the woman versus the seed of the serpent. It's a spiritual seed. Like you could be in the good tree, and you could have a sister who is in unbelief and like directly opposed to Christianity, in other words. So it has nothing. A lot of people claim that these seed lines are literally the seed of Satan. And that's another issue. But so the dispensationalists are teaching that God has two covenants, and the truth is that there's only one. And these people, they'll call people like myself that preach this, they'll call it replacement theology. And it's not replacement theology, because what replacement theology would be to say that there was the tree was Israel here, and that it got totally annihilated, and now only the church is the tree, replaces it. But the real truth is that the church is the continuation of this tree. It's all one tree. It's not a replacement. So that's bearing false witness by a lot of their writers and stuff. So these people are in a sense telling us, the dispensationalists, to bless the root of the bad tree. And if we don't, then we won't be blessed by God, and so forth and so on. And what they're saying is that the 70th week is in the future, and that the pre-tribulation rapture removes the church, sends it to heaven, and then God puts his focus on this particular second covenant. And then it starts off the 70th week, the future 7 years, or they call this the tribulation, but there is no future 70th week. And so God is in covenant with them. And then a lot of them say that they need to believe on Jesus Christ. It makes no sense what they're talking about. And they say in the middle of the 7 years, the Antichrist, who they say is a Muslim, will stop. That right here they rebuild the temple, and that they start animal sacrifices again, and that the Muslim Antichrist walks into the temple and defiles the animal sacrifices, which for some reason they say God finds pleased, because they interpret Daniel 9-27 to mean the ceasing of these sacrifices is an abomination to God. So they say when that Muslim Antichrist stops the animal sacrifices, that it's the abomination of desolation, and they're supposed to flee. And then at the last moment they see Jesus Christ and they get saved. And it makes no sense. And what I mean by makes no sense is it's wrong. I understand exactly what they're trying to say, so don't get me wrong there. I understand their theology very, very well. And so when I say it makes no sense, I mean it's wrong, and I understand what they're trying to say. So it makes sense in the sense of that I understand what they're trying to say. I'll make that clear. And so they're saying the church will be gone, and that God will deal with they call them God's elect. I mean, the church is the elect, that God will be dealing with his elect. And what they don't realize is that this is all a farce. This second tree is all that they made up is a con to get them confused, so they'll believe in the pre-trib rapture, so they'll think that Antichrist is a Muslim, all sorts of confusion. And so the main heresy of dispensationalism is the idea that there's two trees when there is only one.